All right, Miles. TCU, one of the surprises coming into this year. Gary Patterson gone, new head coach Sonny Dykes in. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen. Like in college football, the landscape can kind of shift so quickly with the transfer portal and all of that. And TCU has taken advantage of this changing landscape, and they have come out of the gates. They are firing, undefeated, 6-0 halfway through the college football season. They are a legit contender, now number 8 in the latest AP poll, coming off a massive double overtime, thrilling victory against Oklahoma State. This team is for real. And I know you've got some players and some specifics you want to talk about, Mize. But before I hand it off to you, we want to hear from you, TCU fans, in the comment section below. Give us the guy that so far this season that has stood out to you, jumped out. There's been so many. This offense has been crazy prolific. But give us one specific guy in the comment section below that you think has been the MVP of the team so far this year. But Mize, what are your thoughts on the TCU Horned Frogs, their Big 12 chances, or heck, maybe even their college football playoff chances?
Yeah, Nick, and I've got a guy that I want to talk about a little bit later, who I have thought has jumped off the page for this TCU offense. Who, by the way, it is crazy. They're the number 7th scoring offense in all of college football. Let's go through their scores the last few games: 38 points for 59, 42, 55, 38, 43. They're putting up video game like numbers the last few weeks. And, it's obviously against, relatively unknown, unranked opponents, right? Well, wrong, Nick. You'd be wrong because that was against number 18 at the time, Oklahoma, number 19 at the time, Kansas, and number 8, Oklahoma State. These are against some big time teams. This TCU team has come out firing. They've had a tough schedule so far as ranked opponents go. And that's not where it ends, Nick, because they have a game coming up this weekend against number 17, Kansas State, who seems like to be a pretty tough team. Deuce Vaughn, that running back for Kansas State, has also been putting on a show lately. And then as well, number 20, Texas, comes a few weeks after that. So they still have some tough teams yet to come to face. But I think this offense can do it. They are able to put 1,000,000 points. And, the defense, they've let up a good amount of points as well, but I think they can do enough to stymie the bleeding and let this offense kind of run roughshod over any opponent they come up to. What do you
Yeah,
think?
especially. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would say, what do you think so far about their chances to keep going throughout the season?
It's huge that they're getting Kansas State at home, right? If they had to go to Manhattan, Kansas, that would be a completely different ball game. That team is so tough to play, if you go to their place, but getting them at home in Fort Worth is big for TCU. I really like their chances against Kansas State, but frankly, this is the game because if you look at their schedule and the standings right now in the Big 12, if they handle business and get a huge win over this Kansas State football team, this is a team right now. If they will be the only undefeated team in conference, they would have handed losses to Kansas State, handed losses to Kansas, Oklahoma State. So they have tiebreaker advantages. Remember, the Big 12 is a little funkier. The top 2 teams in the conference go to the Big 12 championship game. So beating Kansas State all but guarantees them a berth in the Big 12 championship game, which puts them this close to the Big 12 title, which puts them this close to the college football playoff. But I really look at this offense. It is so unbelievable. We saw what they did at Oklahoma. I think they had something like 600 something yards of offense against Oklahoma and that Brett Venables defense. They pretty much broke Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma at that point hadn't really fallen apart yet the way they've done the last few weeks. We thought they were still a good football team. This TCU group came out and absolutely ran them off the field, throwing the football, running the football. They did whatever they wanted to. They were unstoppable. The Sonny Dykes machine has come to Fort Worth, and right now there are no answers in the Big 12. If they handle business against Kansas State, I don't think there's a team that can handle them. Texas, look, I know it's Texas. Hey, we wait for Texas's back. I think they barely skated past last week. I think Iowa State, they have good days, bad days. I still think they're too inconsistent. Handling business against Kansas State puts this football team in the driver's seat to the Big 12 championship game and probably to the Big 12 title.
Yeah, Nick, and I think that they have a really good chance. Obviously, they're going to win that Big 12 title. I feel confident that they're going to get that done. But I think they have pretty good college football playoff hopes because I think they can win out the rest of this season the way that this team has been firing on all cylinders. I think they have a pretty good chance to come out the second. We're halfway through the season. The next 6 games, no injuries barred. Everything goes to plan. This team, I don't see why they're not 12-0 at the end of the season. And at this point, they're number 8. They easily should walk into the college football playoff at that point and be able to face the toughest teams in the country. You probably have guys like Georgia in there, guys like Tennessee, Ohio State, Michigan. a couple good options to be in the college football playoff against. But I think this offense, I think you look how things have been going lately. You remember the Tennessee Alabama game, it's 50-49 game there. Things aren't how they used to be unless your name's Georgia. These high scoring offenses are dominating college football more so than hard nosed defense of old. This TCU's they've traditionally had a pretty crazy defense. I think they used to run like some crazy like Okie roll type defensive package way back in the day.
Yeah.
But now it's all about the offense. And you know who I alluded this earlier, think is one of the lifebloods of this offense and kind of has jumped out in the last 2 games really, but has been phenomenal, Nick, and that's Quentin Johnston, wide receiver for the Horned Frogs. And he has been just crazy the last 2 weeks. He's gotten against Kansas, 14 catches, 206 yards and a touchdown. Against Oklahoma State, 8 catches, 180 yards and a touchdown. He's almost 200 receiving yards in the last 2 games, and he's off to a heck of a start once he started getting hot.